Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Hope you guys on a great week. So today I'm actually going to be here with a rapid review. I'm actually trying a different style today, and I'm actually going to do a full review of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, as you all know, I usually write like a huge script, and it takes me ages to do reviews because I have to write a script, edit the footage, and blah blah blah. I just don't have time for that at this time of year, particularly just because it's coming up to holiday season and I'm working still, and pretty much every weekend is full of family and friends and getting ready for Christmas. So I'm gonna do a bit of a rapid review. So I've made a couple of notes on the game, things I want to talk about today, but I'm going to try a new style, and I really would love your feedback to let me know what you think of the style of this review. Please comment below, let me know what you think of it, particularly with the green screen and with me actually being in the video, and let me know if you enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get to it, guys. Let's talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Cal Kestis.
We will always struggle. It's the choice to keep fighting that makes us who we are.
Me, more than anyone probably when this game came out, was skeptical. We all know that EA has a pretty terrible track record when it comes to the Star Wars franchise, right back to Battlefront, and then obviously the debacle in November 2017 when they brought out Battlefront 2, and it was just full of loot boxes, microtransactions, and it really, for a Star Wars fan, it felt like a punch to the face, and it was just an insult to anyone who loved the Star Wars franchise. So when Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was announced, I was skeptical, but I have now finished the game, I have played it, and I can tell you without a doubt this is a great game, and it's so out of left field and so refreshing for EA to release a really great quality Star Wars experience that has no microtransactions whatsoever, is a completely single player experience when they've been touting for years that single player games don't sell and there's no market for them. We all know that's a load of horse, but I can say that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is frigging amazing, and I am a huge Star Wars fan. I freaking love the Star Wars franchise. I'm watching The Mandalorian at the moment, and I'm freaking loving that series. Baby Yoda, guys, it's all about Baby Yoda. Then of course we've got the new movie coming out in December, not too far away, it's like 2 weeks away. So when this game came out, I wanted this game to be good. I really wanted it to be good, and I can say it's freaking amazing. It's a great game, and yeah, like, it's well worth picking up. So let's talk about the game, talk about what it does well, aside from the amazing combat that it has, but let's talk about it. So of course, Jedi Fallen Order, it's set between episode 3 and episode 4, so it's set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. It is actually a canon story. It follows our main character Cal Kestis, and he's basically a Padawan. He was a Padawan in training that survived Order 66, and at the beginning of the game he's in hiding on the planet of Bracca. He ends up saving a friend and having to use one of his Force powers, and he obviously reveals himself to be a Jedi in training. And after that, the Inquisitors, which are really awesome. If you've watched like the Clone Wars series and Star Wars Rebels, the Inquisitors are super interesting, and I'm really glad to see them in this game. But they actually end up you're on the run from the Inquisitors, and they're trying to hunt down Cal and obviously kill him. And at the same time, you're joined by a crew, and you're basically discover this holocron that reveals all sort of Force sensitive children in the galaxy, and your mission is to try to uncover the secrets of this, to find out where it is, and effectively to try and rebuild the Jedi Order. That's the general premise of the game, of the story. It's a really good story. You know, it's a solid story. It's your typical story as sort of Star Wars goes. You know, you're made up of a crew. You've got the very lovable, you know, but slightly grumpy pilot with Grease. You then have the wiser, older older mentor in the form of Sia Junda, who is a Jedi Knight, or a former Jedi Knight that's basically lost her connection with the Force. You find out during the story why that happens, and it's really interesting twist in the story. So Jedi Fallen Order basically is this weird amalgamation of three types of games. You know, it's effectively like Dark Souls or Sekiro meets Uncharted and Tomb Raider, and it's also Metroid-vania as well. And it has these three kind of pillars that really form the base foundation of the game, which is the combat, the exploration and puzzle solving and tombs, and also this whole Metroid-vania kind of like, not sort of open world, but kind of like open world exploration, and coming back and unlocking different paths as you unlock abilities and force powers. So it's built on those three pillars. It takes what's great from those kind of games and sort of puts a Star Wars twist on it, and it does a very, very, very good job. You can actually explore, I think there's 5 different planets that you can explore. They all look fantastic. The level design in this game is so good. It has some of the best level design that came out this year. There's all these little intricate pathways. The planets are very different looking and beautiful. There's some amazing vistas that you see as you sort of explore these planets, and you can swim underwater and climb up vines, and Kashyyyk was definitely my favorite of the planets that you could explore. But what makes this great is the 2 pillars of combat and exploration, and the game, you know, does these very, very well. Let's talk about the combat, because obviously this is a Star Wars game, right? And for any fan of a Star Wars game, we want to sort of be able to be a, you know, really powerful, cool Jedi with Force powers, and we've wanted that for a while, and you know, really since sort of Force Unleashed, and finally Jedi Fallen Order has definitely delivered on that. So let's talk about the combat. Well, the combat is more Sekiro than it is Dark Souls. So the combat is actually really challenging, and it is kind of about sort of parrying and blocking and picking your moves. This is not a hack and slash game. It is not the kind of game where you can just easily overpower your enemies and just hack and slash into them. It is not that kind of game at all. You really have to learn to read your enemies, to study their timing and their moves and their attacks, and you're really looking for those you know, moments when you can press the attack and the moments when you really need to sort of block and parry. You have to pick and choose those. The combat to start with is, there's a very steep learning curve when it comes to the combat, and I guarantee that you will hit a moment at the beginning of the combat where you'll just keep dying, and you'll hit this kind of wall, and it's very much like Sekiro in that point, that once you know you've died a few times and you start to be able to read it, it becomes much more instinctive. And because the combat is so meaty and it has such weight to it, you know, when you're sort of blocking and parrying, you really do feel like, you know, you're really being, there's weight and there's heft there, and when you overcome that enemy and you beat them, that momentary, you know, that moment of elation and relief and the adrenaline that's going through you is really what pulls you back into the game. So if you push through that combat and you push to get through to that point where you actually start to read their abilities, then you will really enjoy the combat. I guarantee it. The combat is really good. There's a nice variety of enemies that you fight, from your stormtroopers, which are like, you know, they have some more challenging stormtroopers than others. There are some that, you know, if you block at the right time, you reflect their shots, and obviously one hit kill them. There are others that are melee based that are a little bit more challenging. You do have to you know, parry and attack them. And then you obviously have the shock troopers, which are much more difficult to fight, and there's lots of different kinds, and we even have some really cool boss fights in the game, some really interesting creatures that we have to fight, some really cool lightsaber fights as well in the game, which are fantastic, especially when you're fighting the Inquisitors, and they're really challenging. But yeah, I really enjoyed the combat. I would say that initially the combat gets, it's quite difficult, but then as you sort of level up and as you unlock different force abilities, the combat really does open up for you, and you've got a lot more choice, and it does make it a lot more fun and more varied, and allows you to sort of be a little bit more strategic. I remember one point when I sort of dropped down into this group of enemies, and it was amazing. I like basically force pushed two guys off of this ledge. I froze the really difficult target, because I was like, I'm leaving you till last, because if I try and take you on and everyone else, I'm going to die horribly. So I froze this guy. I force pulled another one towards me and impaled him on the end of my lightsaber, and then started, attacking and taking out some of the other mooks, and then was left to face, the big tough guy. Because if you just jump into the combat and you just start swinging willy-nilly, you're gonna die very quickly. The AI in this game is quite aggressive. They will press you, and if you get overwhelmed, if you get surrounded, and they don't wait for each other to attack, they can start attacking you together. So the combat is really one of the main pillars of this game, and it's what makes the game so unique and what makes it really cool. It's not as punishing as Sekiro and Dark Souls. I would say that Sekiro and Dark Souls is a lot more difficult than is Jedi Fallen Order, but if you do want a bigger challenge, you can actually increase the difficulty level, and I am told that it does make it a lot more challenging. But having the Force abilities definitely does give it a unique Star Wars spin to that combat. As part of it as well, when you're exploring, you do actually have different meditation points where you can rest, and when you rest, you can obviously use that to spend points to level up your character, and there's a full leveling tree, but you can also choose to rest, and when you do rest, it replenishes your health and also your stims, which you get from BD1 from your bot. That's like your healing potions. And when you rest though, it does cause all enemies in an area to respawn, exactly like Sekiro and Dark Souls. So you really do have to pick and choose, and if you are going through an area and you die, quite far into an area before you've got to another sort of meditation point, it will take you right back to your last one, and you have to go back through again. So there were a couple of times, because of the lack of meditation points in certain areas, where it did feel really like, oh my god, like I cannot go through that again. So there were a couple of times where I was very close to rage quitting, where I kind of had to put the game down, take a time out and come back to it. But as you get more powerful, that becomes less of a concern. But very early on in the game, yeah, it was a real love and hate kind of relationship with those meditation points, with those kind of campfire locations. So, but the combat, fab. The combat is fantastic. The exploration is really good as well. You have wall running, you have vines that you can swing on, grabbing onto ledges and different things. The exploration was really good. There's some really awesome moments where you're sort of sliding downhill, and some really cool like action set pieces, which almost feel like they've been lifted from the Tomb Raider franchise or the Uncharted franchise. They felt very familiar. And then the tombs in this game were fantastic. They were very much like Tomb Raider, and some of the tombs are really cool that you explore as you're trying to uncover the secrets of the Jedi Order. But some of the tombs were very cool and involved like a lot of really interesting puzzle solving and using your force powers and your force abilities in new and interesting ways. So I really loved the tombs, really enjoyed the exploration. I thought the movement was very fluid. I didn't have massive issues. There was a couple of glitches now and again, A few things now and again, but only small, nothing that was really game breaking. Generally speaking, the game is quite polished relatively, or at least I didn't have too many issues in my version that I was playing, and I played it on the PlayStation 4. So loved the exploration. I'm a big fan of Uncharted and Tomb Raider, so I really enjoyed them. And then of course we have the whole Metroid-vania element to it. So as you play through the story and you progress the story, you actually unlock different force abilities, and those will allow you to revisit previous areas in different maps, to revisit certain areas that had been previously blocked to you because you needed a particular force ability to be able to progress through that area. I've got to say that the unlocking of these abilities seemed a little, it's a little bit difficult to kind of believe it, and they feel a little bit forced. I mean, the basic excuse that they give is that Cal, because of his experiences during Order 66 and the trauma of that and what he went through, that he's lost his connection to the Force, and as you regain your connection to the Force, you suddenly start remembering these abilities, force pull, even double jump, things like that, wall running, that you didn't have at the start, which is a little bit difficult to sort of, take on faith. But I get why they did it, obviously, for the purposes of the game, because if you had all your abilities at the start, you would just be completely OP. So I get why they did that, because they wanted gamers to feel this very definite sense of progression, and obviously they wanted to encourage people to go back and explore different areas of the map. Now, what is the benefit of exploring these areas? Well, you do uncover some secrets. There are some also hidden legendary beasts that you can fight as well, and as you unlock areas, there are sort of chests that you can unlock and can get BD1, who is awesome partner. He's like the little droid in the game, and he's like one of the best droids that's been in a Star Wars game ever. I love BD1. He was such a cute companion. Really loved him. He's probably in like my top 3 of droids, and yeah, he's just really lovable. But he's with you the whole time, and he's quite important. He'll give you stim cells, but he can unlock access to certain things as well, and also open certain chests. And as you open these chests, you will get given different sort of customization options. So you can get given skins. You can collect, different skins and looks for your ship, for BD1, different sort of color schemes for your suit for Cal, ponchos, because apparently that's a thing in the Star Wars franchise. I don't know why they went down the route of ponchos, to be fair. They're really not that different, so I felt the customization for Cal was a little lacking. I would have liked to have seen more variety in the different choices that you had for customization. The ponchos just did not do it for me. Yeah, some of them were cool, but generally speaking they didn't look great. You are able to customize your lightsaber, which is really cool. So you can actually customize like right down from the hilt. Later on in the game, you can also customize the color of your blade. You will actually unlock a dual lightsaber as well, and you actually unlock two lightsabers that you can sort of dual wield at the same time later on as you progress through the story, and that's really cool. But yeah, I would have liked more options. And the thing is, once you do customize your lightsaber anyway, apart from the blade, because the animation, because it's so small when you're actually in combat, you don't really get to see it. So you don't really get to see the benefits of that, or sort of see your lightsaber very clearly standing out. And so I didn't, while it was a cool mechanic being able to fiddle with different parts of the lightsaber, I didn't really sort of enjoy that as much as I could have done. I love the fact that you had different forms in terms of your lightsaber, from the single blade, which really is your go-to form, then your dual blade, which is great for crowd control as you swing it around you, and it looks amazing. And then obviously when you're wielding two of them like chobos and attacking enemies, and you can only do that in one special move though. So I would have liked for them to explore that and a little bit more. It would have been been great if each of these forms of lightsaber has its own kind of like evolution tree or its own skill tree, a little bit like what they did with God of War, with the different weapons in God of War. I think that would have been really, really cool for them to go more down that route. So hopefully, you know, if Respawn continue the series, which I think has got a very good chance of doing so, hopefully they will maybe introduce that later on in sequels in the franchise. I also think that it would have been really cool because there was some interesting NPC characters and interesting settings. So I think more varied side content would be better. Some side missions that you could do, not just collectibles and exploring the world simply for these collectibles and different legendary beasts. So it would have been cool to have had more sort of more fleshed out side content in this really interesting world. But the story was good, you know, it was a pretty good strong story, but the main draw of this game is the combat and the exploration. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was a fantastic game. It is a great Star Wars game, and it's great to sort of see that, you know, it's done so well, and hopefully this will send a message to EA that, you know, fans do want single player good story experiences, particularly for Star Wars. And it's been a really good year this year for Star Wars fans, and yeah, I'm really excited for the new movie, so hopefully it will be better than The Last Jedi, I'm hoping, but that's the, you know, that we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, guys, I highly recommend it. If you haven't bought it, it is well worth picking up. If I was to give it a score, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. It was a very, very good, strong game. It could have easily gotten a 9 or a 10 had it just expanded upon a few things a little bit more in terms of the side content, in terms of the customization options. I think that would have been a little bit cooler had it done so. But it's still a great game, and it's one of the you know, the best games, you know, to come out this year. And I'm just really happy to see a good Star Wars game finally released by EA, who obviously have rights to the franchise at the moment to release content. So those are my thoughts on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Have you played the game? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comment section below. Hope you guys are having a great week anyway. Let me know what you guys thought of this new style of review, this new kind of rapid review, even though it's like a 20-minute video at the moment. But let me know what you guys think of it. It's just something new and quick and a little bit easier for me to record, so I can get my thoughts out there to you guys as soon as possible. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hope you guys are having a great week, of course. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.